Hey, Peter.
Oh, good to see everybody's in a good mood. So Peter and I are going to be your gun crew for
No
this
one.
afternoon. We're going to show you the proper way to clean, load, prime, and fire this 1841 6-pound field gun that we have up here for you. Now, this 6-pound field gun can fire one solid cast iron ball that weighs how much? 6 pounds. 6 pounds. A maximum distance of about 1 mile. So from here, we can fire it all the way out to Round Island out there. Round Island is about a mile away, and that represents this gun's maximum range. At that range, a good gun crew can expect to hit a target just about as small as Round Island. And that's
That must be Round Island out there.
Gun, although that accuracy gets dramatically increased as you get closer to the cannon. So if we were firing it, let's say, the end of the breakwater out there, we stand a good chance of hitting something about 100 feet long, more often than not, at about a quarter of a mile, or just where basically that great big yacht is, or the great big cruise ship, or the Arnold Transit warehouse. We could probably take a window on the cruise ship, or a letter, the Arnold Transit stamped on the side, and put a cannonball through that letter.
Talking about that one right there.
So at a quarter mile, this is dramatically accurate. As you get farther, of course, it gets wider and wider and wider. It gets pretty much impossible to hit anything at our maximum range. However, luckily for the soldiers of the 1880s, they don't have to worry about hitting a thing. They don't have to fire at anything, trying to attack this place. They don't have to worry about being attacked. They fire these guns primarily to make a lot of noise and smoke. They fire them for salute purposes. So every morning when the flag goes up, they fire a salute shot. Every evening when it comes back down, they fire a salute shot. They also fire on holidays like what holiday? Christmas, maybe 4th of July, Decoration Day, the President's birthday. They fire for any special occasion they could really think of. Their bosses were to say, okay, go ahead. They would fire a cannon salute charge. So in that respect, it's quite a lot like we do today. We fire for pretty much any reason that we can possibly come up with that passes muster for our bosses who are overlooking us in that awning right over there. That's their building. So we always have to be pretty responsible, and there will be no sinking of any ferries as much as we would really like to. I think they'll probably figure out that it's the two of us doing it because we're not exactly inconspicuous up here. In any case, it would take a crew of about 3 soldiers to fire this cannon, so we could use a volunteer from the audience to come up here.
Here, volunteer.
No.
Come on, volunteer.
No.
Nolan, volunteer.
No.
Volunteer, come on. Yeah.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Oh, we got one.
Come on up.
All right, we got a crew member here.
Lila, welcome to the United States Army. It's nice to meet you. This is a 5-year enlistment. Is that okay? Perfect. You nodded. You all saw it. It's a verbal contract. You cannot escape. So if you would step around the tail spikes, please. And if you would, what hand do you write with, Lila?
Can't believe you didn't volunteer, Nolan.
Put up your thumb.
Why didn't you volunteer, Nolan? Huh? Nolan? Are you chicken?
Perfect. Either young recruit is going to be doing thumb installing.
Are you scared of Kara? Is that why you didn't volunteer?
That makes Peter's job a whole lot safer. And she's actually in the safest place to be while we're cleaning and loading the cannon. But if Peter and I take a few steps back, I hope that she doesn't get too nervous. How are you, Arla? She looks fearless. She's absolutely, totally unfazed by all this. Well, Peter's going to start cleaning out the gun. He's going to use a gunner's worm, or auger, basically this big long corkscrew. He's going to run that down the cannon barrel to fish out any bits of solid debris that might have been left in there from the custom, or from the last fire. Now in doing so, he's going to make sure that nothing is burning down there, because he used to wrap their gun charges in cloth. Cloth has the kind of annoying tendency to burn for a long time. We want to make sure we get that out or extinguish it somehow. So once we're satisfied that it's cleared out, another tool we have to move on to called a wet swab. You dunk that in a bucket of water and run that down the cannon barrel. And this, Lila, is where your thumb stalling becomes particularly important, so make sure you're holding down really tight. And Peter's going to run that wet swab down there, introduce some moisture into the cannon barrel, and also, because of the thumb stalling there and the width of that tool, we're actually creating a vacuum in the gun barrel. And in doing so, again, we ensure that nothing down there will still be burning by the time we
Here, we got the cannonball we're going to fire, apparently.
Great big thump.
Don't drop this on your toe.
Kind of like what happens
Definitely
when you
not.
wine bottle, open up the pickle jar just on a much larger scale here with a cannon. And that does mean, Lila, you've done an excellent job as our thumb staller. Take that back from you. Thank you very much. Now you are dismissed honorably from the United States Army. You can head on back to your family. Now I'm going to continue thumb stalling for the dangerous task of putting down the cannon charge down there. Now Peter obviously is standing in a much more dangerous spot, so we've given him this special tool called a crook ramrod. This will allow him to stand well off to the side of the muzzle while tamping down on live gunpowder. And this is because this were to go off when Peter's tamping down on it, we would lose a ramrod, which is easily replaceable. We don't want to have Peter use the straight ramrod because if that were to go off and get rid of Peter's really one of a kind. We want to keep him around. So, we're going to run down one last tool. It's called a vent pick into our touch hole. That will actually pierce a hole in our powder bag to expose that powder to our ignition device. It's called a friction primer. The friction primer is a small brass tube filled with very fine gunpowder. In many ways, it's a lot just like a rifle cartridge. But up here at the top, instead of a percussion cap, there's a pin. And the same chemical that's in a percussion cap called fulminate of mercury. The only difference is this is activated by friction as opposed to percussion. So we can actually attach this to a lanyard, pull that pin out, it will strike the chemical, which will ignite the powder in the tube, and that'll send a jet of flame to our main powder charge. And if we had one, send a cannonball flying out in the general vicinity of that massive cruise ship out there. Let me take the ball back. Obviously, we're not going to fire a cannonball. We're perfectly safe up here. It's going to make a lot of smoke and noise. And once we have this connected again to a lanyard, we will be ready to fire. So this is a good time to either prepare your cameras or plug your ears, depending on what's more important.
Ears and my camera. You got this. What about your other? Yeah, push harder.
Well, he has got a lanyard up there that's about
Push harder, Kira.
What?
Push harder. There you go.
On the side of the wheels. The idea behind that was if you're firing a cannon like this with a cannon ball in it, it will actually recoil about 10 to 15 feet on average. And on a smooth deck like this, it might go back even farther. So you folks here on these benches will probably have to dive out of the way very quickly or get run over by our cannon. The nice thing about the cannon is it weighs about 2,200 pounds. If it starts moving, a person-sized object is not really going to slow it down. So we want to make sure that our gunner, again, is safely off to the side. We are ready to fire. Of course, this will not recoil, so you don't have to dive out of the way. With that, there are just two commands to fire, and they are ready. Fire!
Very loud at all.
Didn't think that was loud.
Double charge. Ask for
You didn't
double
hear
charge.
anything? Well, next time maybe we'll put two down there. In the meantime, if you have any questions, again, Adam and Peter, we'd be more than happy to answer those for you. Otherwise, we're starting a couple of tours at the bottom of the stairs. If you're interested in children's life, our officer's wife, Hannah, will be leading a tour.